Growing peppers is like a staple crop in many of our gardens, but when germinating and growing these little seedlings up, have you ever come across a few problems? Well, I'm going to show you mine. So in this video is all about my top 5 problems that I've come across when growing these peppers this year. What's going on, my plant peoples? I'm the ADHD gardener, where I use gardening, houseplants, and humor as a form of horticultural therapy, sobriety, learning ADHD life skills, and all that fun stuff. And it's all about peppers today. And I've been growing, I have at least 190 peppers that I've been trying to grow. That sounds like a lot, but in those 190, I literally found about 5 different problems, all in different varying stages. So I'm gonna be checking them out with you so you can hopefully prevent them, and maybe I'll learn a little thing or two about paying attention. And that is the main thing, well, main therapy lesson that I'm gonna be talking about is paying attention to our plants. Because without paying attention, boy, a lot of stuff and problems slip by. This is Ramen. We all know the infamous Ramen cat that's always screwing up and pooping and peeing in my plants. This is him, and he's always hovering whenever I'm in my little makeshift dining hall greenhouse. He's always here because he's always around me, and if I'm always around my plants, he's always around the soil, and he's always around the poops. I don't know why, but that's what he does. What are you gonna do? Not poop and pee in my plants in this video. No, you're not gonna. Go. Stick around to the end, where there's going to be bonus questions and answers that I have for you in pertaining to certain type of peppers, spicy ones, and different colored ones. First problem that I've encountered is overwatering. And I'm like, what in the world does overwatering look like when it comes to any sort of seedling, but especially pepper plants? I'm going to show you. It is not looking good. What happens is if you overwater your peppers, they're going to get waterlogged. The first sign that your pepper plants are going to show when there is too much water is curling of the leaves. That's exactly what's going to happen, because that's exactly what happened to me. And I couldn't figure out what in the world that was, but it was overwatering. So what happens is it's a defensive mechanism, and I was not paying attention. So when you're not paying attention, then what happens is you forget about the plant. Too much water, you're going to get plant death. And that's exactly what happened to this plant. Now, is there any way to fix this problem? Now, depending on your pepper plant. Now, if some of these pepper plants just have a little bit of the curling of leaves, you can fix that by just not watering it, or maybe transplanting it, drying up the soil a little bit. But if it's gone this far where it looks like complete death, then it's not coming back. So, number 2 is going to tie into number 1 when it comes to grow lights. If your lights are too darn close, they are going to be burning or scorching your pepper plants. Now, you can also see curling of your pepper leaves with too much sun. So that means that if you have your pepper plants way too close to your grow lights, like literally touching because you're not paying attention, those leaves are going to curl. And that's exactly what happened to me. And I was not paying attention. So when you're not paying attention, then what happens is you forget about the plant. And that plant, being it's too much light or grow light, too much sun, and too much water, you're going to get plant death. So if you're not giving them at least minimum of like 12, 13 hours of light, they're not going to come out that well. They're going to be stretching for light. They're going to be stunted growth. You don't want that. These are midsummer loving plants. So they're going to love a lot of sun. Also over here, notice how tall they are. That is because these were stretching for the light. They were too far away from this light source. They're okay now because they've stretched to the light. But notice how tall they had to get before this. These little seedlings will stretch just like that if I don't bring that light source a little lower. But as you see, they're all in the same tray. So now I don't have a choice but to let those pepper seeds like stretch up a little bit, because I can't move them out. If you're going to be planting your pepper seeds, make sure that your grow light is really short so you won't get a bunch of tall ones. Get yourself a good strong grow light. Like I'm using 5,000 lumens, just minimum, just so I can get the max amount of light that I can get for these plants. If you don't have them, then they're going to be stretching for that light. Number 3 problem that you may encounter when it comes to your pepper seeds is germination or lack thereof, or too much germination. There's something called a germination percentage rate, which means that in every packet of seeds, what is the percentage chance of your seeds germinating? So some of them were like 90% germination rate, which means you can guarantee some sort of germination. But if your seeds are old, maybe they're not that well pollinated or something, they may not germinate. Another problem that may happen is that there is not enough moisture and heat inside of the soil to allow them to germinate. Again, peppers are summer loving plants. They love a lot of heat and they love a lot of sun. What happens is that means they need a lot of moisture and heat. So ideally, these should have been germinated with a heat mat. Now, if you have a heat mat, that's awesome, but you have to pay attention. You don't overheat them, because too much heat, like the first problem, they curl up and they die. Okay, so no. You're gonna check the germination rate. You're gonna check the amount of moisture that you have in your soil. And also, what is the heat level? That's why we have the heat mat. That is gonna help encourage some germination. So hopefully, with all those things, you can finally get some germination. If that does not work, you may also want to add a humidity dome on top of all of that, so you can really capture all that humidity and heat and moisture inside of it. But remember, once they start germinating, the heat dome has to come off, and also the heat mat has to come off. They cannot stay on because they can ruin and damage your roots. When all of your seeds actually germinate, next thing you know, you got like 5 pepper seeds in one little cell tray. That's not going to work out too well at all. So that means we got to be thinning the plants. Now, thinning means that every time you have like an extra little seedling that germinated, you just kind of yank it out and you toss it away. I don't do that because I feel bad and I want to be able to grow as many plants as I can. So I will transplant them into a different pot. So that's what we're going to be doing. We got to be gentle, being that there's multiple plants in one little spot. You don't want to ruin the, damage the roots, but you also don't want to like put this plant into shock, because that would suck and that would set you back like 2 or 3 weeks, if not more, depending on how bad and damaged the plant is. All we're going to do is just kind of lightly loosen up the soil first, and then you're going to be just lifting the little plant seedling out of it and then transplant it into another container. This is what's wonderful about the germination rate, because sometimes if you have a high germination rate of your seeds, then you're going to guarantee a lot of seedlings. Notice I did transplant some of the seeds just as they started to germinate, and I moved them over. If you leave multiple seedlings inside of one plant cell and you do not transplant them out or thin them or pluck them out, we're going to have a problem. And that's going to lead to competition, survival of the fittest of the seedlings. Not all of them are going to grow the best. One of them will survive and one of them will grow the best. And the other ones are going to look like crap. They're going to be dying, basically. And that's going to lead to problem number 5, fertilization. Fertilization of our seedlings. To fertilize or not to fertilize? That is the question. And we're going to go over it right now because I need to fertilize. The first thing you're going to see is yellowing of them leaves. Now remember the yellowing of the leaves for the fourth problem? Yes, that's why we have to really pay attention to our seedlings so we can figure out what is the right problem. Yeah, you got yellowing of leaves, but which one is it? Is it problem number 4 or is it problem number 5? In this case, if you have one pepper just in its own little cell, then that could tell you, I may need some fertilizer. Another thing that can happen when it comes to yellow leaves is that seed cell, that little, that little container that has the pepper plant, it's too small. It has no place to grow those roots. I mean, it needs more soil, it needs more space. You know what I'm saying? So get yourself another container, a larger little pot or something, and transplant it out. That can hopefully, take care of the yellowing of the problem. But I would also still suggest fertilize, because in the end, it's a nitrogen problem. When you fertilize, NPK, any fertilizer is going to have NPK. What we're looking for is nitrogen. Nitrogen offers a lot of nutrients in order for the plant leaves to grow. You want them to stay nice and green. You want those leaves to be nice and big and strong. That's what the nitrogen is going to do, and that's what we're going to use to fertilize. Now, when it comes to fertilizing, what kind of fertilizer can I use? Well, liquid would be the fastest when it comes to seedlings. So we're going to be mixing up some liquid fertilizers, but there are multiple different types of fertilizers. You can go hydroponic fertilizers, which is made strictly for water, but you can use them in soil. I've done that before, and we're going to do it today. There are other fertilizers that are organic worm castings, and then there's the other chemical stuff, which I'm not a fan of chemicals because I'm trying to go all natural. Making this video makes it 117 days sober from alcohol, and day 9, No more cigarettes. So I'm really trying to clean up my act and clean up my body and definitely use the most natural things possible when it comes to my plants. If you don't fertilize these plants, you can't expect these plants to grow big. And that's what's my problem, because I have not been giving our plants some nutrients or fertilizer. But that also applies to ourselves. Are we giving ourselves some nutrients? Are we eating well? Are we drinking well? Where are our vitamins? Do you take vitamins? The same thing with the plants can also apply to ourselves. Just like our plants need fertilizers, nutrients, so do we. So we should be taking our vitamins. Know what I mean? Take them vitamins. If you stuck around for the bonus info, congratulations, you had enough patience to go through the entire video. If not, well, thank you for coming around to the end of the video. There's two things that I've noticed through observation and paying attention to my plants is two things. One of them, if you are growing spicy ass peppers, you're going to smell them just from the seedlings alone, which I found that fascinating because I have one tray that is just purely spicy hot peppers. Like, I mean, we're talking hundreds of thousands of Scoville units. So when you have a spicy pepper that damn hot, you are going to smell it. You're going to smell it in just the leaves. I mean, it's wild. Every time you water them, every time you lift up this tray, you're going to get a whiff of spice. And you're like, whoa, that smells pretty spicy. You're not going to get burned. You can still touch your leaves and everything like that. So none of the capsaicin, or which is the spicy element inside of the plant, it's not going to get on your, it's not going to get on your fingers, but you will smell it. The last observation that I noticed when it comes to certain type of peppers, if your peppers are of a different color, let's say purple, because this year I'm growing purple cayenne peppers. I had a small seed company send me some seeds to try them out, and they're purple cayenne peppers. That's super awesome. Normally when you see pepper leaves, that's a sign of a phosphorus or potassium nutrient deficiency, right? But this is not the case at all. This is why we always kind of like try to do our research when it comes to our plants. The purple cayennes, just like the purple orchids, the leaves turn purple. And at first I thought it was a nutrient deficiency, but it's not. When you have a fruit,
you can see
or
the
a
difference,
flower
okay?
that has purple in it,
you can see the difference. These are purple
if not most likely,
notice
the leaves are going to be purplish.
Now the yellowing
so don't be
is
alarmed.
Nutrients,
but that means you also have to pay attention to yellowing of the leaves, because you can't really tell if it's nutrient deficient or not until it goes yellow. So be careful about that. But these purple leaves are super okay.
You can see that.
They're pretty cool actually. And just like my orchids that were purple or in like hot fuchsia pink, they're looking fantastic. I really hope you enjoyed this video and you got some great information about peppers. I had to learn a lot about them through a lot of failure, but through my failure, maybe you'll learn a little something about peppers and we can grow some more of it. If you did enjoy this video, don't forget to smash that like button. Share this video to anybody who needs some pepper advice. Also, you can catch me on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok. TikTok is all about my sobriety journey and also everything about ADHD, learning all about it and learning about therapy in itself. Until the next episode, you guys, where you and me both are going to be growing our happiness one plant at a time, one day at a time. I'll catch y'all later in the next episode. Peace and love.